It was cold last night. Ice on the puddles, crusty dirt. Time to see if the 10 will start so we can do some heavy lifting with the forklift. This morning. We'll give it a second, get the oil flowing and warmed up there, smoke out any birds that are in this barn, but it's a Quonset hut. There's no room for them to rest in the rafters, only just on the handrail on the combine. That's a very common spot for them. And we gotta get the forklift put on this one. I need to work quick and gently. The forks aren't as long as I want because this fan sticks out and I'm trying to leave some room there so don't mash it up. But the quick and gently part is I have an extra board in there for support and there's boards cracking. I heard crunching and everything. And this unit is severely front heavy because the elevator's not on the back. I almost wish the elevator was back here to counterbalance it a bunch. But here we go to get out of here and hopefully get over to the mule as fast as we can. The only problem we could run into is I'm probably gonna end up backing it in and then somehow moving the mule backwards to hit our front saddle, mount, whatever you wanna call it. Oh yeah, I power washed it. That was a horrendous idea in the cold weather because I'm soaking wet and cold. But hey, we can see just how rusty it is. We blasted away that dirt, shot water behind seals, but hey, what little paint is left has some shine to it. And we can maybe not get dirt in any of the hydraulic fittings if I gotta take hoses apart. Maybe. You still see some of the icicles there. A warmer day might have been better, but today's the day this is happening. Of course, there's never enough room on these things. We come up front. There's that, which I might be able to lift it high enough to get over the back tire and go super close up here. It's got to jockey around a bit more. Almost back. We're plenty close. Oh, that's just wetness there, that color from me power washing. That's frozen washer. Come back around, and we're a wee bit crooked, and that pallet shouldn't get in the way because of how the rear mount is and all that fun stuff. Really, I just want to get it sitting up here, and then we can deal with life a little bit. But I'm super crooked. We're too far in the front, so I need to try to jockey around, and then we'll roll the mule back to make this pipe sit in the front little cradle here. After the debacle with the chopper, I don't think, even if I had the jacks for this, driving underneath it would not go. I'd still be out here with the forklift probably. Maybe not totally lifting it up, but I'd be able to drive almost close enough in and then maybe slide it around a little bit out here in the yard. I jockeyed around. Now the front's a little close compared to the back. But one thing I didn't show off, oh, it looks like somebody died there. No, So there's a valve right there for the hydraulic functions. It's missing. I took that off and sent that to get rebuilt because the header lift, that spool wasn't staying sealed. It was bleeding off through the spool, and the head for whatever attachment would sink down after you let go of the lever. So I have that off. Really can't start it, so we're gonna go full, I don't know, redneck OSHA violation on this one. And we're halfway there, probably lifting it like this. Got my come along across the top to make sure it doesn't tip too far back, and we're just gonna take the tractor and inch this back a small bit to reach. It'll work. It won't be pretty, but it's gonna make it happen. The forklift is doing nothing. The Husking bed is sitting on a stack of pallets right now. The whole thing's front heavy, so it's leaning forward, and we're gonna get this front bit in the cradle first. Hopefully. Whoa! We're touching, actually fairly straight.
Yeah.
Not too crooked. We just gotta get all these pallets out now. Now that works.
Even if you can't get it out, it's out of the, it's low enough, right?
Yeah, it should be at least 2 of them. I don't know about 3.
Yeah, at least if we get it low enough.
You want to take one more out? I think we need to take one more. Oh wait, we can go the other way maybe. Go underneath the frame the other way to get them out. So the front is anchored in place with a chain and just kind of sitting there nice. Well, we're back the next day or 2. Camera battery gets eaten alive when it's cold outside, as you can see by the snow, and that killed my battery life. Plus it was starting to get dark the other night. So we have the Husking bed all mounted. I think we've seen some of this front end stuff. What we missed out on is using this lovely pipe and a block of wood on the axle right there, a big block, to pry, thanks to this hole, to pull the Husking bed forward, because we had it sitting on and it was, you know, off to the side over here. And we pretty well had to have it touching that chunk of metal to get the pulleys to line up. And as we pushed it across, prying against the tire as such, the Husking bed wanted to slide back, so we had a chain wrapped around this top frame piece here to keep it from going too far back, and then would like pry it forward with that big pry bar, well, stainless pipe. So that's on, and then we had to work the back some. I didn't have the bracket to go from a 737 Husking bed, which apparently is a little older than an 802. I knew that. I was hoping that New Idea was smart enough to make this somewhat universal, and you know, it's not quite like that. So I had to take the by eye. Well, there was a lot of Dad's help on the welding, but last night I finally learned how to weld. That's kind of ugly, yes. I did that bead with a few rods. Well, a grinder and paint makes you the welder you ain't. It held. I took a hammer and it didn't break it. I only hit it once out here. Maybe I should have hit it twice, but Dad did the rest of this, which looks much better. It's just a Lincoln 225, and I let Dad do the welding down there where it's hard to get to. I'd say this is his best looking weld up top. It's got a nice, almost factory look. It's real smooth. Maybe that weld too. It'll hold. Farm welds aren't always pretty, but Dad can make them hold. So we got to set this in here now to hold it. I went through and measured everything for fit. Like, I have this exactly positioned square to the frame. I went underneath and measured the gap. Let's see if we can see this down low here between, you know, this side of the husking bed and our big, you know, box of frame there, that were good side to side. And then I measured squareness with a builder's square, squaring it up on the main box beam, and then measuring, you see this kind of ridge or groove right there coming over to the frame crosswise. I hope that makes sense. I don't feel like crawling back underneath and laying underneath on my plywood there to show you guys. Hopefully you can figure that out. But I have it all set up square to the frame as best as I know how. And yet we made that bracket up. I got lucky. I cut it thinking we were going to weld this plate up here to this plate, which just was all one plate, and I cut it exactly in half. Well, it turns out there's not enough option with the pinhole to get close enough to that mounting plate. And it just turned out that I got lucky on my cutting it in half. That was almost what we needed to just lay this piece of plate on the mounting bracket without any additional material. We added that angle down here for support. It's just for side-to-side play. It shouldn't move side-to-side because it's solidly mounted in the front, but hey, you never know. More metal can't hurt. It's not like we're making millions of these, or this $1 of iron or $2 for that, you know, 2-inch chunk of angle is really going to cost us. You know, farm fixes are hopefully over-engineered to last a long time and never break. That's the whole point. So I got to put bolts in everywhere. And then we got to put the elevator on. This is the old bracket. I couldn't do much with it. It'll sit. It's supposed to be mounted. It'll sit kind of right there, and it's right above, and nothing lined up. I guess I could have tried to adulterate this one to fit. Except the most important part of this is that it lays against the frame to keep the husking bed from twisting outwards, because, you know, it's mounted up front, but yes, all the weight on the back is carried on that one corner. So there's a lot hanging out here. And I could go into all the physics of, once you have the feeder house and a head on the front, that the weight of the head will pull the husking bed up, so maybe this back mount won't be holding much, but we're going to have the elevator hanging off the back. This isn't a physics channel, even though I understand most of it. I'm not going to go into explaining it too much. And the bracket's now holding the weight. The bolts are in. There we are. I got those grease zerks up there. I should have got those before I put the husking bed here on it. And then spent a lot of money for those. I put high flow, quick connect, couplers there to hook up the elevator, because I may want to take the elevator off every year to put this thing in the barn, because the elevator hangs, or will hang, so far out the back. We will pretend that maybe, just maybe, you can see something from that angle. We're putting the drive belts on, and I got new drive belts. The two that came with the husking bed they had some major cracks that weren't going to last very long. Probably the first time I go to the field, they break. So I got the feeder house on. It's fairly easy to get in here, but it's kind of a bit of a fishing game, you know, to get them on. And I'm going to start with that back one, since up front here, I kind of have access. Not that you can see it because I'm behind the camera right now. And I got lucky. That new idea was smart and used, we'll say a common belt, sort of. It is a C90. C denotes width. That it is a 7/8 belt, and that measurement is made across the top. And then the 90 is a little bit arbitrary. You'd think 90 inches, but really this belt is 94.5. And when I gave the part number to Napa, like I could still read the part number from New Idea on the old belts. I mean, they were just old. They weren't worn out, they were just old. It actually crossed over, so I was mildly impressed with their computer system that they could look that up. Now the fun part will be up top here, getting all these between the frame and the pulley. You saw me fish down there. And let's come up here a second. The real challenge is going to be right there. And I think I was better off doing the top side. I didn't want to have to crawl down in the mud. I may have to redo this. I hope not. You may not see much more than my arm right now. Again, I cannot turn it sideways because there's a handful of bolt heads that stick out in there. And hopefully I have the tensioning pulley pulled back far enough. Come on, just one more. One more. Yeah, it's a lot of grunting and groaning involved with this job. This is probably the worst part of this whole process, I guess, is putting these belts on. And I imagine that's why not many folks would want to have to change these out every year going between different implements. Because I found out there's different belts, which it doesn't matter, you still got to take them off. The belts for the chopper were longer than the belts for the picker, so I couldn't use the belts that I already had from the chopper. Well, these belts have some wearing in to do, I guess, because they sit really tall. You can't see that yet. Yeah, they sit really tall. I mean, there's no tension on it, and they'll run in, which is a good thing the tension is spring-loaded. But you kind of saw getting that belt on, it'll be a struggle the same for the last two. So I imagine you don't want to hear me grunting and groaning, and I'll show how we tighten the tensioning pulley from the back. I have all three belts in place. Time to go tighten the tensioner in the back here. Interesting design. The gas, the 703, had like a lever system back here to loosen the tension. This one does not. Like I said, we've got that threaded rod and a spring. And we're going to spend a bunch of time back here cranking with our ratchet, because if I could, I would get the impact back here, but we got the weights in the way. So we're just going to ratchet away however many turns. Right now, the spring is still pushing up the pulley. Not that we can see that very well, but I got to take a lot out. We're going to be cranking for a while. So we'll get you guys with the next little bit of action.